Okay, here's a video to show repair to the rot on a window, a set of two mullioned windows looking out onto a porch, and also to include the replacement of those two windows with a set of French doors. So what I've done here is taken out the windows and I've taken out the framing for those windows, with the exception of this mullion stud, which was between the two windows. This would have been the frame for the windowsill portion. So I've cut this out because I need to expose the opening for the new door. And in doing so, I'm also having to address rot issues that took place in the corners of those windows, because those window sills had rotted. And there were also issues with rot from the outside. On the siding of the house in this area, there was rot. That was related to the fact that there's no gutter in this location. And the railing of this deck was up against the house. And over the years, the black splash off of that railing softened that area and eventually ended up with this rot. Okay, that's going to have to be replaced. And that took place right in the corner of this window frame. It just so happened that there was another incident where there's a plumbing stack in this exact location at the corner of that window frame. And this was also a contributing factor to some rot in this location. So what happened was, I had hung something on the wall here. It was actually a bin of dog food, a dispenser. And it turned out that the hole that I drilled to hang it went directly through that stack. Can you believe it? Because I had no idea it was there. And then everything seemed to be fine. But over the years, the wall board below the spot where I had put where I put it in, started just getting soft and rotting. And then I finally, after pulling it off, discovered what has happened. So that's responsible for some of the rot in this area. But it's a number of factors. There's some rot on the other side, okay, and this side of the window did not have the problem with the gutter hitting the railing, and it did not have a problem with the vent stack, but it still had some damage here, and that was simply due to the windowsill. Now, one of the problems here is that the deck is relatively close up to where the window sill was, so backsplash onto that windowsill in this area was much more severe than in any other location of the house. And that's why these windowsills were more seriously rotted than all of the other windowsills. Okay, now the original window framing went to here. This is going to be the framing for the French door. I've placed it in here. It's 48 inches across. It's going to sit within about the span for the two double windows. The mullioned windows was about 5 feet across. The French doors are only going in about 4 feet across. So first I have to restore the framing of the original. Then I'm going to install new framing for the doors. So you can see this rot was quite minimal. And my plan probably is just to keep this. I'll have to add new sheathing to get over to where the new edge of the door is going to be. So I'll add new sheathing in here. I will install a new framing for the door here, and then I'll add new sheathing here. The opening of this mullioned window exceeds what I need for the doors. For the doors I need 48 by 80, and this is 82 inches high. So what I'm actually going to do is build a door frame inside of a window frame. But first I have to repair what of the original window frame. So the worst damage was in this corner. And you can see now that the damage went down all the way down to this whatever the name of this plate is, but not too deep into it. And then even when, and I've removed, of course, some of the sheathing here, okay, and up to the point where I will be able to put new sheathing over it. And what I've done here is I've taken out the bottom plate here because I knew that there would be rod in here. I took out, in this case, this was the framing of the window, and this was the king stud. I took out the jack stud because in this lower portion it was rotted too badly, and it's a piece that I can easily replace. I couldn't easily replace the king stud because, of course, it goes all the way up to the top plate of the wall. The jack stud only went up to the header. The header runs from the top of the window opening straight up to the wall. So I've supported this with these temporary jacks. I will now be able to put in a new jack stud. I'll be able to put in a new bottom plate, and I'll be able to restore this particular section. This one, although it's slightly damaged, it's not worth taking out because it's still perfectly fine. And of course, I'd have to cut it off. To replace the whole thing, I'd have to take the wall apart, which I, of course, don't want to do. So what I've done is I've used this BoraCare product to treat all of this area with the borate, so to prevent rot in the future. Of course, the rot mostly will be prevented by replacing the rotted wood with good the sheathing with good sheathing, and then keeping it flashed properly and dry. But I still need to treat this material to prevent any further intrusion from the area that's already been contaminated. So I've used the BoraCare. Then I used the 2-part liquid wood to soak in on all of these areas, just to consolidate the material that's there in terms of strength. And then my next step is I will replace the bottom plate of the wall. I will replace the jack stud. Then I will put in the new I'll put in a new header, king stud and jack stud for the door frame. This original frame, the floor seems level. The header is also level. So that I will be able to build the door frame inside of this window frame. And this rot, which is at the perimeter of the original window frame, is not going to be too serious. I could, of course, I could have taken this all out, reframed it, and put the window right back in with a new window sill. But in this case, the boss wants a set of French doors in this area. So this will be a little bit more involved, and I wanted to document it at this particular point because this is the point of maximum tear down. Everything now is going to start being built up again. I did note a few things. One of them is, you'll notice here, the subfloor does not come right up to the sheathing. Okay. Now I'm going to be putting a door in on here, so I just cut off some pieces here to fill that gap so I have it perfectly flat. And I will fill in under this section after I remove this. I won't remove this until I have the framing up for the door frame. Okay, that's a 2x8 header, and that's perfectly adequate for the 4-foot span that it's going to need for the door frame. Plus I'll be adding 2 inches at the top. I'll have a header under a header. Okay, I've done a couple of things here in the way of prepping for the new opening. For example, here you can see the original sheathing would have gone right to the edge of this jack stud, and I've just cut it back at 3/4 of an inch so that when I put the new sheathing in, I'll have a nailing surface. I'll have to do the same thing here with the drywall. I'll have to cut that back 3/4 of an inch all the way around so that when I put new drywall on the section between the original drywall and the new door frame, I'll have a nailing surface for that. Let's see. Other than that, I don't think I can think of any other thing right now. This, I've actually already cut this back. It's protruding 3/4 of an inch, but when I put in the new jack stud here, then there will be a 3/4 inch gap, which will be good for a nailer. Okay. So now I'm going to start building this up again. Okay, so anyway, that's just a little preview here. And this will be multi-part as I start building this back together again. Thank you.